Princess Anne has always been a reliable member of the royal family, and she is well known for her commitment to discretion and discretionary behavior. Recently, however, she disclosed a shocking truth about Queen Elizabeth's last wish, a revelation that has left Camilla and others in a state of shock. This unexpected revelation provides a hint that the priorities of the royal family and the power dynamics have shifted. Regarding the future of the monarchy, what was Queen Elizabeth's vision, and how has this vision caused disruptions within the family? 1 minute ago, Princess Anne shocked Camilla by revealing the final wish that Queen Elizabeth had for her beloved. Now, let's get right down to business. Elizabeth, the monarch who has reigned the longest in the history of the United Kingdom. For more than 7 decades, Queen Elizabeth II served as the head of the British monarchy. She holds the record for the longest reigning monarch in the history of the United Kingdom. Since the beginning of her reign in 1952, there have been significant changes not only in the world, but also in Britain itself. As Elizabeth progressed through her life, she evolved into something more than merely a figurehead. She came to be seen as a representation of duty, consistency, and continuity. Changes in society, politics, and the royal family itself were all intertwined with her accomplishments, both personally and for the monarchy. Her accomplishments occurred simultaneously. We are going to take a more in-depth look at her journey, the things that she prioritized, and the ways in which she influenced the monarchy during her time. The Duke and Duchess of York, who would later become King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, welcomed their first child, Elizabeth, into the world in 1926. She was their first child. During the time that Elizabeth was being born, there was extremely little evidence to suggest that she would one day become queen. King Edward VIII, who was her father's older brother, was the next step in the succession. In spite of this, Elizabeth's father unexpectedly became king in 1936 when Edward famously abdicated his throne in order to marry Wallis Simpson. This put Elizabeth in the position of being the presumed heir. As a result of the unexpected passing of her father in 1952, Elizabeth became queen at the tender age of just 25 years old. Her coronation, which took place in 1953, was a momentous occasion, not only due to the significance of the ceremony itself, but also because it signaled the beginning of a new era for the monarchy of the United Kingdom. In a world that was undergoing rapid transformation, Elizabeth's reign would be a reflection of those changes. The early years of Queen Elizabeth's reign were marked by the difficulty of defining her role as a monarch in the modern world. This became a defining characteristic of her reign. Many of the former colonies gained their independence, which led to the beginning of the disintegration of the British Empire. As an example, the Suez Crisis that occurred in 1956 presented a clear illustration of the diminishing global influence of Britain as well as the shifting balance of power. Elizabeth, on the other hand, handled these challenges with grace, frequently withdrawing from the political arena while still making sure that her presence was felt. In contrast to her predecessors, who had been more directly involved in the politics of the time, Elizabeth chose to concentrate on exemplifying the continuity of the monarchy rather than engaging in the shifting currents of global politics. At an early stage in her career, one of her primary concerns was to ensure that the monarchy continued to be relevant. She became aware of the necessity for the royal family to adapt to the changing world around them, while simultaneously maintaining their traditions as the world around them evolved. It was essential to strike this delicate balance in order to preserve the monarchy's position in British society. In spite of the fact that the institution of the monarchy played a significant role in shaping Elizabeth's role, her personal life was just as significant. It was in 1947 when she tied the knot with Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, and the couple went on to have 4 children: Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward. Her marriage was characterized by a spirit of partnership and mutual respect, and Philip was an essential component in providing her with support in both her personal and professional ventures. Through his guidance, Elizabeth was able to successfully navigate the numerous challenges she encountered as a young queen. Elizabeth was a mother who was deeply involved in the lives of her children, despite the fact that her responsibilities as monarch required her to strike a balance between her personal life and her public responsibilities. The royal family has become a symbol of British life and culture over the course of time, and Elizabeth's ability to keep her family together in spite of the difficulties they faced is a testament to her leadership. There were many significant events that occurred during Queen Elizabeth's reign that not only defined her time as monarch, but also the path that the British monarchy as a whole would take in the future. Elizabeth's reign had a number of important objectives. One one of which was to make the monarchy more approachable to the general public. When the traditional, formal image of the royal family was being challenged by the growing influence of television and the press in the 1950s and 1960s, this was an especially important point to keep in mind. Elizabeth was well aware of the fact that she needed to be contemporary in order to maintain her relevance in a society that was undergoing rapid transformation. In 1953, her coronation was the first event in history to be broadcast on television. This was a historically significant moment. In the history of the monarchy, this was a defining moment. Witnessing the ceremony and establishing a connection with the family was made possible for individuals from all walks of life through the coronation. Elizabeth was able to successfully navigate the rapidly shifting political landscape throughout her entire reign. Among the many challenges she encountered, some of the most notable ones included the decline of the British Empire, the establishment of the Commonwealth, and the development of the relationship between Britain and Europe. Although she maintained her political neutrality, she continued to wield a significant amount of influence. A significant portion of Elizabeth's involvement in issues such as the decolonization of Africa and the Caribbean was symbolic in nature. On the other hand, it was abundantly clear that she was dedicated to fostering promotion of the Commonwealth and preserving strong relationships with former colonies. During her reign, Elizabeth was a monarch who exemplified the principles of duty, discipline, and service. When she was in her later years as ruler, the public viewed her as a consistent and reliable figure, particularly during times of national crisis. This became especially apparent during the latter years of her reign. Because of her strong sense of responsibility and her dedication to her position, she garnered a great deal of respect. Her unwavering commitment to the nation and the monarchy was made clear by the extensive travel she did and the public appearances she made, despite the fact that the job required her to perform physically demanding tasks. Not too long ago, Princess Anne disclosed her last wish, which left everyone, particularly Camilla, in a state of shock. The footsteps of Anne's mother were always followed by Anne. Princess Anne was always a figure who followed the path that her mother had laid out for her in a quiet and obedient manner. With the exception of her brother Charles, who was the heir to the throne, Anne established a unique position for herself within the royal family. Her life has been characterized by a dedication to royal duties, personal integrity, and a profound sense of responsibility, despite the fact that she is not the first member of the royal family to ascend to the throne. A significant portion of Anne's public and private life was molded by her steadfast adherence to tradition and the example set by her mother. This helped to ensure that the royal family's status remained intact even during periods of transition. Anne was brought up in a family where duty and service were regarded as the most important values. She was born in 1950. Ever since she was a young child, she had a keen awareness of her position within the royal family. Despite the fact that Anne was the second child of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, she was never directly in the line of succession like Charles was. However, this did not mean that her role was any less significant than Charles's. She was raised by her mother Elizabeth and her father Philip, who both had very specific expectations for their children. It was Elizabeth in particular who was known for her strong sense of duty and tradition, both of which she instilled in Anne from a young age. Anne's position within the royal family was never quite as straightforward as Charles's, who has had his life defined by his position as the heir to the throne. Charles's life has been defined by his position. The responsibility that was placed on her was not subjected to as much scrutiny from the general public. However, her sense of obligation did not change throughout the process. As she has progressed through her life, she has fulfilled a multitude of responsibilities on behalf of the royal family, frequently without the same level of attention or fanfare as her older brother, even though she was a member of the monarchy. This, on the other hand, was something that Anne appeared to accept. During the time that Charles was concentrating on his own personal causes, such as the trust of the prince and environmental concerns, Anne quietly committed herself to a wide variety of royal engagements. It was her work with charitable organizations, sports, and the military that brought her to the attention of the public. By virtue of the fact that she was the first member of the British royal family to compete in the Olympics, Anne demonstrated her dedication to both her personal and royal accomplishments. Despite the fact that Anne has successfully forged her own path, she has frequently been described as a reflection of her mother in a variety of capacities. Anne has always exemplified the qualities of stoicism and composure, which Queen Elizabeth exemplified throughout her monarchical reign. Anne was frequently more forthright and more willing to say what she thought, in contrast to Elizabeth, who exemplified the very definition of grace and diplomacy. On the other hand, this was counterbalanced by a mutual sense of duty, dedication to the family, and affection for the monarchy. She has shown her unwavering commitment to her mother's legacy by providing support to the monarchy during times of crisis and transition. This is evidence of Anne's unwavering dedication. Although Queen Elizabeth was under intense scrutiny from the public, particularly in the wake of Princess Diana's passing, Anne remained a consistent and supportive presence throughout the ordeal. Anne, much like her mother, has frequently placed the institution of the monarchy ahead of her own personal concerns. Rather than seeking attention, she prefers to concentrate on the tasks at hand, which she does very infrequently. Princess Anne was the only person to whom Queen Elizabeth disclosed her final wishes, along with Prince Charles and Camilla. This was the case despite the fact that Charles was the heir to the throne. Surprisingly, the wishes of the previous queen are the ones that are most similar to those of the current queen, so let's go check her out. The story of Prince Charles and Camilla is one that is marked by both public intrigue and personal challenges. They have been together for decades, and during that time, their relationship has gone through a number of significant transformations, including periods of heartbreak, periods of media scrutiny, and periods of overall acceptance. The relationship between Charles and Camilla began in the early 1970s, long before either of them had fully embraced their roles in the royal family. When they became husband and wife, they had not yet fully embraced their roles. In 1971, they first came face-to-face at a polo match. Camilla was an aristocratic woman who had a vibrant social life at the time, and Charles was still a young man in his 20s at the time she was married to him. The fact that Charles and Camilla had a similar sense of humor, as well as a shared appreciation for the outdoors and sports, was a significant factor that contributed to the early stages of their relationship. However, because of the demands of royal duty and the expectations of society at the time, their relationship was never given the opportunity to develop to its full potential. The year 1973 marked the year that Camilla tied the knot with Andrew, and Charles, who had been very close to her, was confronted with a challenging choice. Their relationship came to an end, but they continued to communicate with one another, and their connection never truly severed. Finding a wife who would be considered an appropriate consort was the next logical step for Charles to take in his path of endeavors. The year 1981 marked the year that Charles Spencer tied the knot with Lady Diana Spencer, a young lady who had won the affection of the British public. Nevertheless, in spite of the glitz and glamour that surrounded their public lives, Charles and Diana's marriage was fraught with difficulties from the very beginning. Diana's relationship with Charles was strained as a result of the pressures of royal life, as well as Charles's ongoing feelings for Camilla. It wasn't until the 1990s that the specifics of Charles and Camilla's relationship became accessible to the general public. This was the time when their affair, which had been going on for years despite the fact that both of them were married to other people, was brought to the attention of the general public. A frenzy in the media was sparked by the revelations. The affair was sensationalized by the British press, which is always eager to report on the personal lives of members of the royal family. As a result, Camilla was portrayed in a position that was unfulfilling. The fallout from the affair had a significant impact on both Charles and Camilla, particularly due to the fact that the public's reaction to their relationship was largely negative. Despite the fact that Charles had always been committed to his royal duties, he was subjected to criticism for his actions, while Camilla was vilified by the public and the media. Their relationship was the subject of rumors and scandal for a number of years, and it appeared as though the couple might never have the opportunity to openly and freely express their love for one another without fear of being judged. Princess Diana's untimely passing in 1997 brought about a remarkable transformation in the lives of Charles, Camilla, and the entire royal family. In the end, the public's perception of both Charles and Camilla shifted as a result of the grieving process, which was complicated by the harsh treatment they received from the press. In the years that followed Diana's passing, Charles began to be perceived in a different light, and his relationship with Camilla began to shift from being viewed as an illicit affair to a more genuine partnership. This occurred as a result of the transformation that took place. As more time passed, Charles and Camilla began to make more public appearances together, which contributed to the normalization of their relationship. Over time, the general public's perception of them began to become more favorable. Camilla, who was once considered to be the other woman, began to be regarded with less indifference. As she became more involved in causes such as domestic violence, osteoporosis, and literacy, her public persona began to shift as she did her own charitable work and demonstrated her commitment to these causes. The year 2005 marked the turning point in the relationship between Charles and Camilla, which was the year that they got married. Despite the fact that the wedding was a relatively low-key affair in comparison to the extravagant wedding that Charles and Diana had, it was nonetheless a momentous occasion in their lives. Charles and Camilla were finally able to formalize their partnership, despite the fact that their relationship had been the subject of significant media attention, scandal, and public skepticism for a number of years. In spite of the fact that their relationship got off to a particularly rocky start, Charles and Camilla eventually found their place within the royal family. The couple started taking part in official royal royal duties together, which included supporting a variety of charitable causes and attending public events. Camilla's influence increased as her position within the family became more established. Despite the fact that she was never as well liked as Diana, she became well known for her poise, grace, and unwavering dedication to her royal duties. An addition to the family is Kate Middleton. But in spite of the fact that Camilla was beginning to gain some acceptance, a new woman joined the royal family and started to shake things up as she captivated everyone. Their story is one of contemporary romance, public scrutiny, and gradual acceptance into the royal family. William and Kate Middleton are the subjects of this story. While they were both attending the same university, they began a relationship that eventually developed into a love that would eventually result in one of the most celebrated weddings in the history of the United Kingdom. During their time as students at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland in 2001, William and Kate first became acquainted with one another. During that time period, William was pursuing a degree in art history, and Kate was also working towards the same goals. Through a mutual friend, they were introduced to one another for the first time, and their friendship eventually evolved into something more with time. Even though William's royal status made their relationship anything but ordinary, it wasn't long before their classmates noticed them together. However, their relationship was anything but ordinary. Kate, who was brought up in a family that belonged to the middle class, had no prior experience with royal life. She quickly adjusted to being in the public eye, which was a challenge for any student, let alone one who was dating the heir to the throne. However, she was able to overcome this challenge. For a period of time, the couple managed to keep their relationship under wraps while simultaneously navigating the pressures of university life and being subjected to constant scrutiny from the media. William and Kate were seen together more frequently as their relationship progressed, but it wasn't until they graduated in 2005 that their relationship became more widely known to the general public. The couple had already been together for a few years at that point, but Kate's presence in the public eye was still a relatively new experience for her at that point in time. Kate's life outside of the royal bubble was still relatively normal. Despite the fact that William and Kate were becoming more serious about their relationship, she spent a few years working in the fashion industry as well as in marketing. On the other hand, it was abundantly clear that her relationship with William was progressing towards something more serious. During this time period, the British media quickly became obsessed with tracking Kate's every move. She quickly became the darling of the British media as they compared her composure and demeanor to that of Lady Diana. Kate developed the ability to handle the attention with grace, and her humble background made her more relatable to the general public. Although there was a great deal of interest in her life, Kate managed to keep her composure and was frequently seen going on regular outings with her family and friends. While this was going on, William had to navigate his role as the second in line to the throne, while simultaneously maintaining a relationship with Kate that was relatively close to normal. Although he kept a significant portion of his personal life private, the press started to speculate about the possibility of a royal wedding as the couple became more serious about their relationship. While William and Kate were on vacation in Kenya in 2010, after 8 years of dating, William made his proposal to Kate. From this point forward, she would no longer be merely William's girlfriend. Rather, she was about to become a public figure in her own right, complete with all of the responsibilities and scrutiny that came along with being a member of the royal family. It was inevitable that the media would go into a frenzy for the couple when they announced their engagement. People were thrilled about the possibility of another royal wedding, and many of them wished that Kate would infuse the royal family with a sense of modernity and make them more approachable. At the same time that the engagement was officially announced, the press began to investigate Kate's history in increasing detail. The fact that Kate was raised in a middle-class family was a departure from the typical aristocratic backgrounds of the royal family. As a result, there was some initial concern about how she would fit into the institution. With the passage of time, however, it became abundantly clear that Kate was a natural fit for the life of a royal. Her friendly and approachable demeanor struck a chord with the general public, and the fact that she remained composed even when under intense pressure made her a well-liked figure. Despite the fact that there were concerns regarding how she would deal with the intense scrutiny from the media, Kate consistently demonstrated her ability to distinguish herself from the noise. Obtaining the approval of the royal family was the next significant step. A great number of potential spouses for the royal family's heirs had come and gone over the course of their history, and not all of them had been welcomed with open arms. It was necessary for Queen Elizabeth and the rest of the family to make certain that Kate was a suitable candidate and that she was was capable of managing the enormous responsibility that would come with being the future queen consort. It was the relationship that Kate had with Queen Elizabeth that was one of the most significant moments that demonstrated her acceptance by the royal family. As soon as Kate began attending official royal events for the first time, many people were curious about how she would fit in with the other attendees. Due to the fact that the queen had witnessed the public and private challenges that her own children's marriages faced, she took a particular interest in Kate's position within the family. In the beginning, the queen was cautious and possibly even reserved in her interactions with Kate. This was because she wanted to make sure that she would be able to adjust to the demands that come with belonging to the royal family. On the other hand, the queen was won over by Kate's friendly demeanor and her capacity to happily accept her new role. They were frequently seen together during royal engagements, which demonstrated their mutual respect and affection for one another. Over the course of time, Kate developed a close relationship with Queen Elizabeth, and the two were frequently seen together. It is not surprising that Elizabeth's last wishes were to make sure that Kate would have a bright future. When William and Kate got married in April 2011, it was a moment that was celebrated all over the world. After her marriage to Prince William, Kate's position within the royal family was firmly established, and she would continue to shine as an important member of the household over the course of the years. With the passage of time, Kate became increasingly at ease in her role as a member of the royal family. There were a number of patronages that she and William accepted, and they frequently represented the Queen at official events. Moreover, Kate gave birth to two more children, Princess Charlotte in 2015 and Prince Louis in 2018. Both of these children were born in 2018. Her connection to the British public and the royal family was ultimately strengthened as a result of each of these significant milestones. By granting her final wish, Queen Elizabeth demonstrated that she had a profound comprehension of the monarchy's requirement for progression. Elizabeth was no stranger to the changes that occurred within the royal family, the shifting expectations that were placed on her regarding her role, and the changing landscape of British society. She was the monarch who reigned the longest in the history of the United Kingdom. During her reign, technological, social, and political shifts occurred over the course of several decades. Elizabeth had witnessed multiple generations of royals come to the forefront by the time she passed away in September 2022, and her insight regarding the future of the monarchy was more clear than it had ever been before. 1 minute ago, Princess Anne shocked Camilla by revealing the final wish that Queen Elizabeth had for her beloved. Only Elizabeth's daughter, Princess Anne, was privy to her thoughts regarding the future of the royal family before she passed away. As Anne recalled the last moment she had spent with her mother, she laughed as she recalled how her mother had been happy and laughing together. It was abundantly clear that one of Elizabeth's primary concerns for the future of the monarchy was to make certain that it continued to be powerful and relevant in a world that was becoming increasingly modern. Her final wish for Kate Middleton's future role in the monarchy was an essential component of this vision. She also held the belief that younger members of the royal family would need to take on more significant responsibilities in the future. Camilla was quite concerned after Anne's words, and she was unable to hide her anger as it seemed clear that it was over for her. This was extremely well received by almost everyone, but Camilla was particularly concerned. Over the course of her life, Elizabeth witnessed the monarchy transform from a highly traditional institution that adhered to stringent protocols and boundaries into one that began to embrace a more approachable and contemporary image. In the course of this transition, her children, grandchildren, and other younger royals took on more public responsibilities than they had in the past. This was a clear indication of the transition that took place. The final wish that Elizabeth made reflected her understanding that the future would be shaped by younger royals who could connect with the public and embody the values of modern Britain. Elizabeth was keenly aware of how the monarchy was perceived, both in the United Kingdom and around the world. The relationship that Elizabeth had with Kate Middleton was one of the most obvious indications that this shift was taking place. At this point, Kate was the Duchess of Cambridge, and she was widely considered to be a formidable potential consort. Kate's approach to royal life, which placed an emphasis on charitable work and advocacy for mental health, combined with her approachable personality, made her an ideal candidate for the position of Queen Consort when she was a candidate. Queen Elizabeth's understanding of the significance of younger royals playing a larger role in the monarchy was another component of her wish that she would have realized before she passed away. Although Elizabeth remained a steadfast monarch until the day she passed away, she was keenly aware that the future of the monarchy was dependent on the successors of the younger generation. This meant that not only would Kate play a more significant role, but also other younger members of the royal family, such as Prince William, Prince Harry, and even Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice, would also play a more significant role. Elizabeth was well aware that William, in his capacity as the heir to the throne, would at some point in the future be asked to assume a role that was even more significant. Her final wish, on the other hand, suggested that the monarchy would require more than just one person to take the helm. It would be necessary to have the assistance of a group of royals who are capable of dividing up the work and ensuring that the family continues to be relevant in a world that is constantly evolving. In her final wish, Elizabeth emphasized that the monarchy would need to continue this trend in order to ensure its strength and survival. Elizabeth had already witnessed the increasing involvement of younger members of the family in royal duties, and she had witnessed this trend. Do you agree with Elizabeth? Leave a comment below and let us know.